Ladies and gentlemen, it is a truth that we often overlook in our day-to-day struggles. Every hardship we face is a divine opportunity. Hardships are not just obstacles to our happiness, they are instruments of transformation. They are the very means by which God refines us, strengthens us, and prepares us for the blessings He has in store. You may be going through a tough time right now, feeling like the weight of the world is pressing down on you. You might be wondering, why is this happening to me? Where is God in all of this? But let me tell you this, every difficulty has a purpose. Every trial you face is not the end of the road, it is a step toward your divine destiny. Let me remind you that God's timing is always perfect. We are quick to measure success or failure by what we can see and experience in the moment. But God is working on a much greater scale. What seems like a setback today could be the very preparation needed for your breakthrough tomorrow. God does not waste a single moment. In His infinite wisdom, He uses everything to mold us into the people He created us to be. In these moments, it's important to trust the process. It's easy to become discouraged when we can't immediately see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we must remember that God is always working behind the scenes, even when we cannot perceive it. When we walk by faith, trusting in His divine plan, we begin to unlock the blessings hidden within our trials. Remember, faith is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to trust God in the middle of it. Think of it this way, strength is built through adversity. Just like how a muscle grows stronger through resistance, our character, resilience, and faith are developed through the struggles we endure. Every challenge we face is shaping us for something greater. And though we may not understand it in the moment, the strength gained in these trials will position us for the divine success God has planned. Let's also shift our perspective. It's easy to focus on the difficulty itself, but what if the blessing lies in the transformation happening within you? You are not the same person today that you were yesterday. Every experience, every challenge, every hardship is refining your heart, sharpening your spirit, and preparing you to walk into the destiny God has for you. When facing lack, remember that God's provision will come. He has a way of showing up in ways we never expect. What seems like a loss today may be the space that God is creating for something far greater than you could have ever imagined. He will supply all your needs, but He will also show you that His blessings go beyond mere material things. He will bless your mind, your heart, and your spirit in ways that will far exceed your understanding. And as you endure, let this truth guide you. Endurance leads to victory. Every time you choose to press on, despite the pain or disappointment, you are drawing closer to victory. The hardships that you endure today will set the stage for the success you will experience tomorrow. They are the very tools that will equip you to accomplish all that God has placed within you. Now, let's talk about transformation. God uses hardships to transform us. You may feel like you are being broken, but understand this, He is shaping you. What seems like a setback is actually a divine setup. The hardships are making you stronger, wiser, and more equipped for the blessings He is preparing for you. What you're going through is not breaking you, it is making you into the person you are meant to become. As you face those struggles, remember, resilience is key. Resilience is not just about bouncing back after a fall, it's about growing stronger with each trial. When you refuse to give up, you activate God's favor in your life. Each time you rise despite the odds, you invite the supernatural into your situation. Hold on to this truth: joy comes in the morning. The night may seem long, the struggles may seem endless, but rest assured, joy will come. Every hardship is temporary. And though weeping may endure for a night, joy will always come in the morning. You will rise from the ashes of your struggles, and the blessings that follow will be far greater than the pain you endured. So today I challenge you to look at your hardships differently. See them not as punishments, but as opportunities for growth. Trust the process, hold on to your faith, and know that the difficulties you are facing today will ultimately lead you into the fullness of God's blessings. God will turn your hardships into the very blessings you've been praying for. He will take your pain and transform it into purpose. He will take your struggle and turn it into strength. And He will take your faithfulness in the trial and turn it into a testimony of His greatness. Keep going. The best is yet to come. Every challenge we face in life, no matter how difficult or overwhelming it may seem, carries with it a purpose. Often when we encounter hardships, it's easy to focus solely on the pain or frustration that comes with the struggle. We may even question why these things are happening to us, wondering if we've done something wrong or if we are being punished. But what if we reframed our perspective and viewed these challenges not as mere obstacles, but as necessary parts of a greater plan? The truth is, no experience is wasted in God's economy. Every challenge, every trial, and every difficulty we go through serves a deeper, more profound purpose. We often see the immediate impact, the discomfort, the sorrow, the uncertainty. But God sees the end result, the transformation that will come as a result of these moments. Just like gold is refined in the fire, our faith and character are refined through the trials we face. Without these challenges, we would never experience the full depth of God's blessings. Each hardship is an opportunity for growth. It is in the midst of our struggles that we are forced to look deeper within ourselves, to examine our faith, our beliefs, and our convictions. These trials expose areas in our lives where we may be weak or where we may need to rely more on God's strength. They push us out of our comfort zones, forcing us to stretch beyond our limits and trust in something greater than ourselves. Without this process, we would remain stagnant, never moving toward the potential God has placed inside us. In fact, many times it is through our toughest moments that we discover our true strength and resilience. When life is easy, it's easy to think we have everything under control. But when faced with a challenge, we quickly realize how much we need God and how much He is capable of doing in and through us. These challenges become the very opportunities that develop us into the people God has always intended us to be. They teach us perseverance, patience, and reliance on His wisdom. The key is to recognize that every challenge is a part of God's divine plan, and it holds a purpose that we may not immediately understand. Sometimes we may never fully grasp why certain things happen, but we can trust that there is a purpose behind it. Even when we can't see the bigger picture, we can have faith that God is working things out for our good. He is using each hardship to shape us, to teach us, and to prepare us for what He has ahead. It is in this realization that we begin to shift our perspective. We no longer view our challenges as random or senseless, but as divine appointments that God is using to mold us into stronger, more faithful individuals. With this understanding, we can face each challenge with confidence, knowing that it is not the end, but a step towards something greater, toward the fulfillment of God's purpose for our lives. Divine timing is a concept that transcends our understanding of time. As human beings, we are accustomed to living within the confines of hours, days, and years. We set goals, create schedules, and plan our lives around timelines we believe are best. Yet God's sense of timing operates on a much higher level, one that doesn't always align with our expectations or desires. It's in those moments when things don't seem to be happening as we think they should that we must trust in the greater wisdom of His timing. We may find ourselves praying for a breakthrough or desiring a change, but when it doesn't happen immediately, doubt creeps in. We question whether we've done something wrong, whether we are being overlooked, or whether God even hears our prayers. But the truth is that God's timing is never late, nor is it early. It is always perfect. There are moments when we are not ready for the very blessing we've been praying for. There are seasons in our lives where we need growth, preparation, and refinement before we can step into the fullness of what God has for us. In those waiting periods, we are being shaped. God knows the exact moment when we will be ready to receive His promises. He knows when the right doors will open, and He knows when we will have the strength and maturity to walk through them. Sometimes the delay is not a denial, but an invitation to trust His wisdom. What may seem like a setback is often the setup for something greater. If we rush ahead of God's plan, we may miss the lessons we need to learn. Or worse, we may step into a blessing before we are fully prepared to handle it. There's also something deeply profound about how God uses timing to align all things perfectly. When we look back at certain moments in our lives, we often see how seemingly unrelated events or circumstances led us to the place we never expected. God was orchestrating everything behind the scenes, working out all the details, even when we couldn't see it. And when the moment finally arrives, it feels as if everything has fallen into place. And we realize how much better God's plan was than anything we could have imagined on our own. Trusting in divine timing requires patience and faith. It means learning to surrender our own agendas and submitting to God's process. When we do this, we release the burden of trying to control everything and allow God to do what only He can do. We learn to wait expectantly, knowing that in His perfect timing, He will bring about His promises. The waiting period becomes a time of preparation, of strengthening, of deepening our faith, and of drawing closer to Him. At times, God's timing may not make sense to us in the moment. But when we look back, we can see how every detail fits together in a way that only He could have orchestrated. And when we step into the blessings He has prepared for us, we realize that the wait was not just necessary, it was a crucial part of His perfect plan. The timing of our lives, as long as we walk in faith, will always align with the greater plan God has for us. And in the end, we will see that everything came exactly when it was supposed to. Faith in the process is an essential part of navigating life's challenges. It is the belief that even when we cannot see the end result, we trust that God is at work, shaping us and guiding us through every moment. Life doesn't always unfold the way we expect, and often the journey can feel uncertain. We may encounter roadblocks, detours, or long waiting periods, and it can be tempting to lose hope or become disheartened. But faith in the process requires us to hold on to the belief that there is a purpose for every step, even when it's unclear to us in the moment. There are times when we experience delays, detours, or setbacks that make us question whether we're on the right path. It's easy to become discouraged when things don't seem to be progressing as we'd hoped, or when we find ourselves in seasons of waiting. But the truth is, waiting is part of the process. It's during these times that God is teaching us patience, perseverance, and trust. We may want things to happen quickly, but God knows exactly when the right time is for us to receive what He has promised. He knows when we're ready, and He knows when we need more preparation to fully embrace the blessings that lie ahead. Having faith in the process means understanding that God's timing is not our own, but that it is always perfect. The delays, the difficulties, and even the frustrations are all part of the refining process. Nothing is wasted. Every experience we go through serves to strengthen us, to deepen our trust, and to prepare us for the next stage of our. We must also remember that faith in the process doesn't mean inaction. It doesn't mean sitting idly by, waiting for things to happen. Faith is an active belief that moves us forward, even when we don't have all the answers. It's stepping out, continuing to put one foot in front of the other, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. When we trust the process, we are not just waiting passively, we are moving with confidence, knowing that God's hand is guiding us. In those moments when it feels like nothing is happening, when we don't see the progress we desire, that is when our faith grows the most. It is in the waiting that we learn to rely more deeply on God, to trust more fully in His wisdom, and to surrender our plans to His greater purpose. As we continue to walk by faith, we begin to see the pieces come together in ways that we never could have imagined, and we realize that the process was just as important as the outcome. Faith in the process teaches us that God is always at work, even when we can't see it. It teaches us that no matter what, we can trust Him with every detail of our lives. The challenges, the delays, and the uncertainties are not signs that God has forgotten about us. They are opportunities for us to grow in our trust and our dependence on Him. If we stay faithful, we will eventually look back and see that every step, every challenge, and every moment of waiting was leading us exactly where we needed to go. And when we step into the blessing on the other side, we will know that the process was worth every moment of the journey. Strength in adversity is a concept that reveals itself only through the experience of hardship. It's easy to believe that strength is something we are born with, or that it's only available when life is easy and smooth. However, true strength is not built in times of comfort, but in moments of challenge. It is in adversity that our inner resilience is tested, shaped, and developed. It is in facing life's toughest moments that we discover the depth of our strength and the power of faith that sustains us through them. When adversity strikes, it often feels like an insurmountable wall that stands in the way of our dreams, our peace, or our happiness. At that moment, we may feel broken, defeated, or overwhelmed by the weight of our circumstances. Yet, it is precisely in these moments of struggle that the seeds of strength are planted. Strength doesn't emerge from avoiding difficulty, but from confronting it head on and choosing to move forward despite the challenges. The struggle itself becomes the very thing that refines us and draws out the strength that we did not even know we had. In adversity, we learn to rely on something greater than our own abilities. It's easy to depend on our own strength when everything is going well. But when we face a storm, we are forced to lean on God's strength. It is in our weakness that His strength is made perfect. When we can no longer rely solely on our own efforts, we find that God is right there, providing the support, wisdom, and peace that we need to endure. This is where true strength comes from, not from self-reliance, but from divine reliance. When we surrender our own understanding and turn to Him, we tap into a power greater than ourselves. The process of overcoming adversity also teaches us resilience. Resilience is not simply about bouncing back after a setback, it's about growing stronger through it. It's about taking the lessons learned from hardship and using them to face future challenges with more wisdom, more courage, and more faith. Each time we go through a difficult situation, we come out on the other side more capable, more confident, and more prepared for whatever lies ahead. The strength that adversity builds is not just a reaction to one particular challenge, it is an enduring quality that becomes a part of who we are. Facing adversity builds character. The hardships we endure shape our values, refine our hearts, and purify our motives. Through difficulty, we are forced to examine what truly matters to us. We are challenged to grow in patience, humility, and perseverance. It's easy to be kind and gracious when life is easy, but when life gets tough, our true character is revealed. The way we respond to adversity shows the strength of our character and our commitment to living out our values, even in difficult times. Adversity calls forth the best in us when we choose to rise above it rather than be crushed by it. Adversity also brings clarity. When we are faced with challenges, the noise of life fades, and we are forced to focus on what is truly important. The distractions of comfort, success, or convenience often cause us to lose sight of our purpose, but adversity strips everything away, leaving us with a clearer understanding of who we are and why we are here. It is in these moments that we begin to understand the deeper purpose behind our struggles. We may not always know the reason for our adversity in the moment, but over time, the lessons, the growth, and the blessings that come out of these challenges reveal a bigger picture that we could not have seen before. In adversity, we also learn that strength is not always about outward power or visible success. True strength often shows up in quiet endurance, in holding on when it seems easier to give up, in choosing hope when despair seems overwhelming, and in continuing to move forward despite the odds. It's in the silent courage to stand firm, the quiet resolve to keep going, and the steadfast belief that we will emerge stronger on the other side that true strength reveals itself. Adversity does not last forever. The storms we face are temporary, but the strength they build within us is eternal. Every challenge is an opportunity to discover new depths of character, faith, and resilience. When we look back at our struggles, we often realize that they were the very experiences that prepared us for greater things. Without those trials, we might not have the strength, wisdom, or perspective we carry today. The strength we gain through adversity is not just about surviving, it's about thriving, growing, and becoming the person we were always meant to be. Adversity is not something to fear or avoid, but something to embrace as a necessary part of our growth. When we face hardship, we are not being punished, we are being prepared. We are being molded into stronger, wiser, and more capable individuals. Through adversity, we discover the power of resilience, the depth of our faith, and the strength that God has placed within us. And when we emerge from the storm, we do so not just as survivors, but as transformed individuals ready to face the next challenge with even greater strength and grace. Shifting perspectives is a powerful tool that transforms the way we experience life's challenges. How we view the world, our circumstances, and ourselves determines how we respond to everything around us. Our natural tendency is often to view situations through the lens of our immediate emotions or through the constraints of our own limited understanding. When things don't go as planned, or when adversity strikes, it's easy to fall into a mindset of defeat, frustration, or hopelessness. But shifting our perspective allows us to see beyond the surface and recognize the deeper meaning behind the situations we face. Often what appears to be a setback is actually an opportunity in disguise. Our human tendency is to focus on the negative aspects of a situation, the pain or the loss, without considering what might be gained through it. But when we change the way we look at things, we begin to notice new possibilities. A difficult season may not be a punishment, but a time of preparation. A challenge may not be an obstacle, but a stepping stone. A failure may not be the end of the road, but the beginning of a new path. By shifting our perspective, we begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth, transformation, and purpose. Sometimes the blessing is not in the immediate outcome, but in the process. Many times we are so focused on the destination, on achieving success or arriving at a specific goal, that we overlook the lessons that are being taught along the way. When we shift our perspective, we can see that the journey itself holds value. Each step, each struggle, and each moment of uncertainty is shaping us into the person we are meant to become. The process becomes just as important as the result. It's through the process that we are refined, strengthened, and prepared for what is to come. Shifting perspective also means looking at our struggles from a place of gratitude. It's easy to get caught in a cycle of complaining or wishing things were different. But what if we could see our difficulties as tools for personal development? Gratitude in the midst of hardship allows us to reframe our thoughts and emotions. Instead of seeing challenges as burdens, we can see them as opportunities to learn patience, resilience, and faith. When we choose gratitude, even in the hardest of times, we align ourselves with a mindset of abundance, recognizing that even in adversity, God is at work shaping us for greater things. Another aspect of shifting perspective is realizing that our trials are not isolated. We are not alone in our struggles, and the challenges we face often serve a greater purpose than we can immediately understand. When we shift our perspective, we see that our experiences can be used to help others. The pain we endure can be a source of compassion. The lessons we learn can be shared. And the strength we develop can become a testimony for someone else. Every hardship we face has the potential to impact not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. When we view our challenges through this lens, we begin to see our purpose in the bigger picture. One of the most transformative shifts in perspective comes when we realize that what we go through today is not just for us. The difficulties we face may be the very things that prepare us to fulfill a larger purpose. Our struggles are often designed to equip us for something greater down the road, something that may not even be for our own benefit, but for the benefit of others. In the midst of hardship, we may not see it, but we are being shaped into vessels of purpose. Shifting our perspective allows us to let go of our self-centered view and see the broader narrative in which our lives are a part. When we shift our perspective, we also learn to let go of the need for immediate answers. We are so often driven by the desire to know why things are happening or to understand the reasons behind our pain. But shifting perspective means choosing to trust God even when we don't have all the answers. We can embrace the mystery, knowing that His understanding far exceeds ours. We may not know why things are happening, but we can trust that He is in control and that everything has a purpose, even if it's beyond our comprehension at the moment. Shifting perspective doesn't just affect how we view challenges, it also affects how we see ourselves. When we view ourselves through the lens of God's love and purpose, we are no longer defined by our shortcomings or our past mistakes. We are defined by who He says we are: strong, capable, and destined for greatness. This shift in perspective empowers us to approach life with confidence, not because of who we are on our own, but because of who God has called us to be. Shifting perspectives allows us to break free from the limitations of our current situation. When we change how we see the world and ourselves, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We begin to see not just what is in front of us, but also what lies beyond. The problems we face are not as insurmountable as they first appear. The challenges we experience are not as defeating as they seem. When we shift our perspective, we see a world filled with potential, purpose, and polity. And in that new view, we find the strength to move forward, to grow, and to embrace the blessings that are waiting for us on the other side of every challenge. Divine provision is a concept that transcends mere physical needs. It reaches deep into the very core of our existence. It's the unwavering belief that God is not only aware of our needs, but is fully capable of meeting them, often in ways we couldn't have imagined. At times, we may find ourselves feeling uncertain. especially when we face unexpected challenges, financial struggles, or moments of personal loss. But divine provision assures us that even in these moments of uncertainty, God has already prepared what we need, and He is working behind the scenes to ensure we are taken care of. One of the most powerful aspects of divine provision is that it is not limited by our circumstances. We often look at our current situation and assess it based on what we can see and understand. But God's ability to provide is not bound by our limitations. Whether we face abundance or scarcity, God's provision remains constant. It is not based on the world's economy, not determined by the current state of our health, and certainly not confined to our understanding of time. His provision is abundant and continuous, flowing from a source that never runs dry. When we feel that we are in need or that we have reached the end of our resources, divine provision reminds us that there is always more than enough in God's kingdom to meet our needs. In many instances, God's provision comes in the form of unexpected blessings, opportunities that arise at just the right moment. People who step into our lives to offer support, or sudden breakthroughs that change our circumstances. These moments are not mere coincidences. They are the result of God's hand at work, orchestrating every detail in ways that are beyond our comprehension. We may not always recognize divine provision in the moment, but when we look back, we see how perfectly everything has aligned. God is always ahead of us, preparing a way where there seems to be none, providing exactly what we need, exactly when we need it. But divine provision is not always about material things. While it certainly includes the physical needs of life, it also encompasses the emotional, spiritual, and relational aspects of our lives. God provides strength when we are weak, peace when we are anxious, and wisdom when we are unsure. There are times when what we need most is not a financial breakthrough, but the assurance that we are not alone. It's in these moments that divine provision shows up in ways that go beyond what we could have asked or thought. God's provision in these times offers comfort, guidance, and a deep sense of security that allows us to face the unknown with confidence. God also provides for us in ways that stretch our faith. There are times when we must trust in His provision before we can see it. It's in these moments of waiting, when the answer has not yet arrived, that our faith is tested and strengthened. But in the waiting, we learn to lean into God more deeply, trusting that He is faithful to His promises. His provision may not come in the way we expect, but it will always come in the right way, at the right time, for the right purpose. The process of trusting in divine provision, even when we can't see the outcome, helps to build a deeper relationship with God and teaches us to rely on Him more fully. Divine provision also invites us to be channels of blessing to others. As we experience God's abundant provision in our own lives, we are called to pass it on. The resources, love, and kindness we receive are not just meant for us to hoard or keep to ourselves. They are meant to be shared. Just as God provides for us, He calls us to provide for others, whether it's through financial support, offering a listening ear, or simply being there for someone in their time of need. When we embrace this principle of sharing and giving, we begin to see that divine provision is not just about receiving, but also about multiplying blessings in the lives of others. One of the most profound elements of divine provision is its connection to God's faithfulness. We don't just rely on His provision because He is capable, but because we know He is trustworthy. Time and time again, God has proven His faithfulness. He has provided for His people in ways that are unimaginable, from miraculous healings to supernatural financial provision. His track record is flawless. When we trust in His provision, we are trusting not in the uncertainty of the world, but in the certainty of God's love, power, and faithfulness. It is this unshakable trust that allows us to face difficult situations with peace, knowing that God is in control and that He will provide in His perfect timing. As we experience divine provision in our own lives, it changes the way we view our circumstances. Instead of focusing on what we lack or what we are missing, we begin to focus on what God has already provided. The simple blessings, the breath in our lungs, the food on our table, the people in our lives are all a form of divine provision. When we shift our perspective to recognize these gifts, we begin to cultivate an attitude of gratitude, and in turn, that gratitude opens the door for more of God's provision to flow into our lives. Divine provision is a reminder that we are never alone. God sees our needs, hears our cries, and provides for us in ways that exceed our expectations. Whether it's in moments of abundance or times of lack, divine provision is a testament to the never-ending love, grace, and faithfulness of God. It assures us that no matter what we face, we are always provided for. And that the one who holds the universe in his hands is also the one who cares deeply for each of us, providing for our every need. Endurance is one of the most powerful qualities we can possess as we journey through life. It is the ability to continue moving forward, despite the obstacles, hardships, and challenges we face. In a world that often values immediate results, quick fixes, and instant gratification, endurance is a rare and invaluable trait. Yet, it is through endurance that we achieve the greatest victories in life. When we are able to endure, when we press on through the toughest of times, we discover that victory is not always found in the ease of the journey, but in the strength gained by enduring through the trials. Victory is not simply a destination, it is a process. The road to triumph is often paved with difficulties, setbacks, and moments of doubt. There are times when we may feel like giving up, when the weight of our struggles feels unbearable, and when the temptation to throw in the towel seems overwhelming. But it is during these moments that endurance becomes crucial. It is in the perseverance through hardship that we are tested and refined, and it is through that testing that we are prepared for the victory that lies ahead. Endurance teaches us that the greatest triumphs often come after the longest and hardest battles. Victory is not necessarily about the moment we reach the top, but the journey it took to get there. Every step, every challenge, every setback shapes us, strengthens us, and brings us closer to the victory we seek. It is in the endurance of the struggle that we build resilience, patience, and perseverance, the very qualities that make the victory all the sweeter when we finally reach it. Sometimes we focus too much on the end result and forget that the process itself has intrinsic value. When we endure through difficult times, we learn to rely on our inner strength and, more importantly, on God's strength. We begin to see that victory is not just about achieving something externally, but about the transformation that happens within us as we endure. We learn to trust in the process, to trust that every hardship we face is shaping us into the person we need to be. Through endurance, we grow in character, faith, and wisdom, and we become better equipped to face the next challenge with even more strength. In the midst of endurance, we must remember that victory is often a gradual process. It doesn't always happen overnight, and it is rarely a sudden or dramatic event. Instead, victory is built in the quiet moments of persistence and determination. It is in the small victories along the way, the decision to keep going when we feel like stopping, the strength to rise after falling, the courage to continue despite fear, that true victory is found. Each step forward, no matter how small, brings us closer to the ultimate victory. Endurance teaches us that setbacks are not the end. Often setbacks are part of the journey, not a sign that we have failed or that we should give up. They are simply opportunities to learn, grow, and adjust our course. The greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders did not achieve success without facing numerous setbacks, but they chose to endure through them. They understood that the road to victory is rarely straight or smooth, but it is the ability to keep moving forward, to keep pushing past obstacles, that leads to ultimate success. Endurance also strengthens our faith. When we face trials and difficulties, we often don't know how we will make it through. But when we endure and look back, we realize that God was with us every step of the way, providing strength, wisdom, and grace. Endurance builds trust in God's plan for us. It teaches us to rely on His timing, His guidance, and His provision. As we press on through difficult times, we begin to see that His presence is more constant than our circumstances, and that in His strength we can overcome anything. Victory through endurance also brings a deeper sense of fulfillment. The moments when we push through the hardest challenges are often the times when we experience the greatest sense of accomplishment. The battles we face in life are not just about external success, they are about the internal growth that happens as we face those challenges head on. When we endure, we gain a sense of purpose and meaning that cannot be found in ease or comfort. The victory is not just in the outcome, but in the transformation that happens within us as we endure. When we look at the lives of those who have achieved great things, we often see only the result, the success, the triumph, the victory. But what we don't always see is the long journey of endurance that led to that moment. And behind every victory is a story of persistence, hard work, and sacrifice. Endurance is what separates those who give up from those who succeed. It's the refusal to quit, the decision to keep going when everything else is telling us to stop. That leads to true victory. Victory is not just about achieving our own personal goals, it is also about the impact we have on others. When we endure through struggles and emerge victorious, we become living testimonies to others who are facing their own battles. Our endurance inspires those around us to keep going, to keep fighting, and to believe that they too can overcome whatever they are facing. Through our endurance, we show others that victory is possible, even in the hardest of times. Endurance leads to victory because it proves that we are willing to stay the course, to trust the process, and to keep moving forward despite the challenges. The strength that is built through enduring hardship becomes the foundation upon which our victories are built. Every moment of perseverance, every ounce of energy spent pushing through the hard times is a step toward the victory that is waiting for us. And when we finally reach that victory, we will realize that the journey, the endurance itself, was just as important as the moment of triumph. Transformational power is the force that can change lives, elevate individuals, and alter circumstances in profound ways. It is not limited to outward appearances or superficial change, but rather it penetrates the very heart and soul of a person, reshaping their thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors. True transformation is deep and lasting, going beyond temporary improvements to bring about permanent shifts in how we perceive the world, ourselves, and our purpose. It is the kind of power that doesn't just change what we do, but who we are at our core. The transformational power that comes from within is often rooted in faith. When we trust in something greater than ourselves, whether it be a higher purpose or divine guidance, it shifts our entire perspective. We begin to understand that the challenges we face, the obstacles we overcome, and the moments we endure are all part of a greater plan. This shift in mindset opens us up to the idea that we are more than our current circumstances and that we can rise above them to achieve something far greater than we could have imagined on our own. At its core, transformational power enables us to break free from the limitations that we once thought defined us. These limitations may come in many forms: fear, doubt, insecurity, or even the weight of past mistakes. It is easy to fall into a cycle of self-defeat, believing that we are confined to the labels others have placed on us or to the limitations we have internalized. But transformational power comes to free us from these chains, allowing us to see ourselves not as failures, but as works in progress. We no longer have to accept a life of mediocrity or remain stuck in a place of discouragement. Instead, we can tap into an internal strength that empowers us to break free, to rise above, and to become the people we were always meant to be. This kind of transformation often starts with a change in mindset. The way we think shapes the way we live. When we begin to see ourselves as capable, strong, and worthy of success, our actions begin to align with those beliefs. It's a process that starts with the simple act of choosing to believe in something greater, something more powerful than the limitations that have held us back. As we make that choice, we open ourselves to the transformational power that leads to new opportunities, new ways of thinking, and new ways of being. Transformational power often reveals itself in times of struggle. When life presents us with challenges, it is easy to be overwhelmed and discouraged, to question our strength, our purpose, and our potential. But it is in these very moments of adversity that transformation can occur. Adversity acts as the catalyst for change, forcing us to dig deeper, to call on strength we didn't know we had, and to become something more than we were before. Through hardship, we learn resilience, determination, and the ability to endure. We realize that we are capable of more than we once thought, and the power to transform our circumstances is within our grasp. Transformation also requires vulnerability. It is not enough to simply want change. We must be willing to let go of the past and embrace a new way of thinking and living. The process of transformation often involves surrendering our old habits, mindsets, and ways of thinking that no longer serve us. It is a choice to step into the unknown, to face our fears, and to trust the process even when we cannot see the outcome. This willingness to embrace change, even when it feels uncomfortable, is what unlocks the transformational power within us. As we allow ourselves to be shaped by our experiences, we emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true purpose. One of the most significant aspects of transformational power is that it is not confined to an individual. The transformation that happens within us often ripples out, affecting those around us. When we change, the way we interact with others changes as well. We become more compassionate, more understanding, and more empathetic. The growth we experience on a personal level has the potential to create a positive impact in our communities, our relationships, and even in the lives of strangers. When we embrace transformation, we not only change ourselves, but we also contribute to the collective transformation of the world around us. This power is also rooted in the idea of continuous growth. Transformation is not a one-time event, but a lifelong process. It's easy to look for a singular moment of change and think that once we've been transformed, everything will be different. But true transformation is ongoing. It's about constantly evolving, learning, and growing. There is always something new to discover about ourselves and the world around us. With every new phase of life, there is an opportunity for further transformation, deeper understanding, and more powerful growth. This continual process of becoming is what makes transformational power so profound. It's not static, it's dynamic, always pushing us forward into new realms of possibility. As we begin to recognize the transformational power at work within us, we also see it at work in others. One of the most powerful aspects of transformation is the ability to inspire those around us. When others witness our growth and the changes we have made in our own lives, it encourages them to seek transformation as well. This is the power of living as an example. Our actions, our words, and our energy have the potential to uplift, motivate, and inspire others to pursue their own transformation. The transformational power within us is contagious, spreading from one person to another, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we could ever imagine. Transformational power is not about becoming someone else, it is about becoming the best version of ourselves. It is about shedding the layers of doubt, fear, and insecurity that have held us back and stepping into the fullness of who we were always meant to be. Transformation empowers us to rise above our circumstances, to break free from the chains of limitation, and to live a life of purpose, strength, and fulfillment. It is the force that drives us to continually evolve, to reach higher, to become more, and to make an impact in the world. Through transformation, we discover that the power to change, to grow, and to achieve greatness has always been within us, waiting to be unlocked. Resilience is the inner strength that allows us to persevere through life's difficulties, adapt to change, and recover from setbacks. It is not simply about enduring hardship, but about thriving in the face of adversity, finding strength in moments of weakness, and continuing to move forward even when the road ahead seems uncertain. Resilience is the capacity to bounce back from challenges stronger, wiser, and more determined than before. It is a characteristic that transforms obstacles from sources of defeat into opportunities for growth. One of the most remarkable aspects of resilience is its ability to foster personal growth. When we face difficult situations, our first instinct might be to shy away, to wish the problem away, or to retreat into comfort. However, it is through confronting our difficulties head-on that we develop the strength to overcome them. The process of navigating challenges forces us to dig deep, to uncover hidden reserves of strength and resourcefulness, and to discover parts of ourselves we didn't know existed. As we endure through hardships, we often find that we are capable of more than we imagine, and that the adversity we feared becomes a catalyst for transformation. Resilience also teaches us the power of perspective. When we encounter hardships, we often view them as obstacles, insurmountable barriers that stand in the way of our success or happiness. However, resilient individuals learn to reframe their experiences, seeing challenges not as hindrances, but as opportunities to learn, grow, and improve. This shift in perspective allows us to move from a mindset of defeat to one of empowerment. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of circumstances, we begin to view challenges as valuable lessons that shape us into more capable, compassionate, and determined individuals. This ability to shift our perspective helps us maintain hope and motivation, even when things seem bleak. The power of resilience also lies in its ability to strengthen our emotional fortitude. Life's challenges can often leave us feeling drained, defeated, or emotionally exhausted. However, resilience empowers us to recover from these emotional setbacks, to process our pain, and to emerge stronger. When we are resilient, we do not allow negative emotions like fear, frustration, or anger to define us. Instead, we acknowledge these emotions, understand them, and use them as fuel to propel ourselves forward. Resilience helps us develop emotional intelligence, teaching us how to manage our feelings and respond constructively, even in the face of adversity. It builds emotional strength, allowing us to remain grounded and centered, regardless of the storm that may be raging around us. Another powerful aspect of resilience is its ability to foster a deep sense of purpose. When we face difficulties, it is easy to lose sight of why we are pursuing our goals or dreams in the first place. However, resilience helps us reconnect with our sense of purpose, reminding us that the challenges we face are part of the journey towards something greater. It is often in our most difficult moments that we rediscover the reasons why we started in the first place, and this renewed sense of purpose becomes a powerful motivator. Resilience strengthens our commitment to our goals, helping us stay focused and determined, even when the journey becomes tough. It is through resilience that we develop the perseverance to keep going when giving up seems easier. Resilience is also about adaptability. Life is constantly changing, and no matter how much we plan or prepare, we cannot always control the circumstances we face. Resilient individuals learn to adapt to change, to be flexible in their approach, and to embrace the unexpected. When we are resilient, we do not become rigid or resistant to change. Instead, we flow with it, adjusting our strategies and finding new paths forward. This adaptability allows us to turn obstacles into stepping stones, to find solutions in places where others see only problems. The ability to adapt is one of the key components of resilience, as it enables us to stay fluid and responsive in the face of uncertainty. Resilience is not something we achieve overnight. It is a skill that must be nurtured and developed over time. Like a muscle, resilience grows stronger with each challenge we face and each setback we overcome. When we embrace adversity and allow it to shape us, we build the resilience needed to face even greater challenges in the future. The more we practice resilience, the more natural it becomes, and the more equipped we are to handle whatever life throws our way. Resilience is not a one-time act of bravery or strength, but an ongoing process of growth, learning, and adaptation. It is the continual building of inner strength that allows us to face life's challenges with confidence and grace. One of the most beautiful aspects of resilience is that it is contagious. When others see our resilience in action, it inspires them to develop their own strength. Resilient people have the power to uplift and motivate those around them, to show others that it is possible to overcome obstacles and emerge victorious. Our resilience can become a beacon of hope to others, proving that no matter how difficult life's challenges may seem, there is always a way to rise above. Through our example, we encourage others to keep going, to never give up, and to believe in their own ability to endure. The power of resilience not only transforms us, but also has the potential to transform communities, families, and even entire societies. Resilience also strengthens our connection to others. When we face hardships, we often feel isolated or alone in our struggles. But resilience helps us realize that we are not alone. It connects us to others who are also navigating difficulties, creating a sense of shared experience and empathy. Through resilience, we learn that we are part of a greater human story, one where each person faces their own battles but is also capable of great strength. This sense of shared humanity fosters a spirit of cooperation and support, encouraging us to lean on one another during difficult times and to offer help when we can. Resilience is the key to overcoming the inevitable challenges of life. It is the quality that allows us to persevere when things get tough, to adapt to change, and to emerge from hardship stronger than before. Resilience enables us to transform adversity into opportunity, turning every setback into a lesson, every challenge into a stepping stone, and every difficulty into a chance for growth. It empowers us to face the unknown with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, we have the inner strength to endure and to keep moving forward. Joy Comes in the Morning is a powerful reminder that no matter how dark or difficult the night may seem, there is always the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Life is filled with seasons of sorrow, despair, and hardship, and there are moments when we feel overwhelmed by the weight of our struggles. During those times, it can be easy to lose hope and believe that the darkness will never end. Yet the promise of joy in the morning is a testament to the truth that every season, no matter how painful, is temporary. There is something uniquely powerful about the idea of a new day. Every morning offers a fresh start, a clean slate, and a renewed opportunity to embrace life with hope and purpose. Even after the hardest nights when we are exhausted, burdened, and discouraged, the arrival of a new day brings with it the potential for change, healing, and renewal. It is in the morning that we are reminded that no situation, no matter how difficult, lasts forever. Just as the sun rises and breaks through the darkness of the night, so too can our circumstances shift, bringing with them new possibilities and opportunities for growth. Joy, however, does not always come immediately. Sometimes the morning may still seem overcast and the path forward may feel uncertain. But joy often emerges gradually, not as an immediate flood, but as a steady, quiet assurance that things will get better. It is in these moments of transition, when we are moving from the darkness of our trials into the light of new beginnings, that joy begins to take root in our hearts. This joy is not the kind of fleeting happiness that comes from external circumstances, but a deeper, more lasting peace that comes from knowing that we are not defined by our struggles. Even in the midst of hardship, there is hope that can rise in our hearts, a light that pierces the darkness and gives us strength to keep going. When we experience pain and difficulty, we often focus solely on the circumstances at hand, not realizing that the pain we feel in the moment can be a part of a larger story of transformation. Just as the night precedes the day, so too do the challenging seasons of life often precede the most beautiful and rewarding moments. In the darkness, we are refined and strengthened, preparing us for the joy and growth that comes with the morning. What may feel like an unbearable burden now could be the very thing that shapes us into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. It is through the trials we face that we learn to appreciate the beauty of the morning, the joy that follows the struggle, and the light that emerges from the darkness. Joy also comes in the morning when we learn to embrace gratitude in the midst of our pain, when we choose to look for the good. Even in the darkest times, we start to see that the morning is not just about the absence of pain, but the presence of hope. Gratitude shifts our perspective, helping us to focus on the blessings we still have, even in the midst of hardship. It reminds us that joy is not only found in the absence of problems, but in the ability to find peace and thankfulness in the midst of them. As we practice gratitude, we begin to experience the joy that comes with the morning, the joy of knowing that no matter what happens, we have the strength to rise again. Another important aspect of this truth is the reminder that joy is not something we have to wait for passively, it is something we can choose. Even in the darkest times, we have the ability to decide how we respond to our circumstances. We can choose to allow the challenges of life to define us, or we can choose to rise above them, knowing that they do not have the final say. The morning is a symbol of new beginnings, of possibility, and of the power to choose joy in the face of adversity. When we embrace this truth, we tap into an inner strength that helps us navigate life's ups and downs with resilience and hope. Joy also comes in the morning as we learn to trust in God's timing. Often we want our struggles to end quickly, but we are reminded that there is a purpose in every season. Just as the night is necessary for the day to come, our periods of trial and difficulty are necessary for our growth. We may not always understand why we face certain challenges, but we can trust that they are part of a larger plan, one that is leading us to a place of greater joy and fulfillment. The morning reminds us that God's timing is perfect, and that even when we cannot see the way forward, we can trust that He is working all things together for our good. The joy that comes in the morning is not always about the external circumstances changing immediately. Sometimes the true joy is found in the transformation that happens within us. When we go through difficult seasons, we are often forced to confront parts of ourselves that we would rather avoid. The darkness reveals our weaknesses, our fears, and our vulnerabilities, but it also reveals our strength, our resilience, and our capacity to grow. In the morning, we can look back and realize that we have not only survived the night, but have emerged stronger, wiser, and more equipped to face whatever lies ahead. The beauty of joy coming in the morning is that it is a promise that we can hold on to no matter how dark the night may seem. It is a reminder that our struggles are not the end of the story. There is always hope on the horizon, always a new beginning waiting for us. Just as the sun rises every day, so too will joy rise in our lives, bringing light, peace, and renewal to our hearts. Even when the night feels long, even when the pain feels unbearable, we can take comfort in the knowledge that the morning is coming, and with it, the joy that will carry us through. Let us remember that no matter how dark the night may seem, there is always the promise of joy in the morning. Life's challenges, though often difficult and overwhelming, are not the end. They are part of a greater journey toward growth, transformation, and renewal. The dawn that follows every night represents hope, resilience, and the unwavering truth that no circumstance is permanent. As we endure through the hardships, we must hold on to the belief that brighter days are ahead. And with each new morning comes the opportunity to rise stronger, wiser, and more determined than before. Let the struggles of today not define you, but rather let them be the stepping stones that lead you to the joy of tomorrow. Choose to trust that the morning brings not only a new day, but a new perspective, a new strength, and a renewed sense of purpose. Through every trial, remember that joy is not far away. It is within you, waiting to be embraced. And as you walk through each day, may you carry the belief that the dawn will always break, and with it, a joy that will carry you forward into the fullness of life you are meant to experience. Keep pressing on, for the morning is always coming, and with it, the joy you so deeply deserve.